Hōʻike Media Channel 54, I believe. If not Channel 54, you'll find us on Channel 53 and stream it on YouTube. So don't forget, hit the like, subscribe, ring the bell.
And it's very exciting to have KKCR being partnering, because this way, not only are we on the airwaves when you're driving home from work, but if you miss us, you can come home and get set up and see us if you care to. So we're excited about this new partnership.
So thanks you guys for helping make this happen. And climate change, I'm going to ask you, why is there a reason this month we chose climate change?
Yes, there are a variety of reasons. You've heard about things such as it's an idea whose time has come. It felt, because I've been talking about doing a show like this for quite a while, actually. Okay. And it just didn't come together. And all of a sudden this time it really did come together unbelievably, magically, with people stepping up. And what really encouraged me to say, oh, this is exactly the right time, is because there was the recent screening of the film Ocean.
Thank you.
Which was phenomenally, incredibly beautiful, narrated by David Attenborough. So, and man, that man is amazing, still live and kicking, and still speaking the speak, which is amazing to me. So
before the show, I was talking to one of our guests, Tim, who was at that, and was telling me a little bit about what he does, and the, if you will, the showing or the premiere of the movie, and the
panel.
Good turnout at KCC, and having just a, if you will, informative discussion, having knowledgeable people. That's the kind of good community event that's it was worthwhile.
It was very well attended, actually.
Almost I was going to say full house.
Right, in a good venue and a big screen, which was great. And
that makes a big difference.
It does make a difference. Yeah. I mean, it's impactful. I mean, I personally would prefer to sing it in IMAX.
So we can talk a little bit more about the event and who hosted that. Maybe that helps frame our show and our guests.
Yes, it will. As a matter of fact, we do have one of the moderators, the moderator that was on the panel, and that is Tim, and pardon me if I mispronounce your name. So Tim Leichleter? Leichleter? Is that correct? Okay. So I'd like to invite Tim.
Tim, come on down.
Step on up.
Here we go. We got a chair for you. This is the thing about radio.
Let's scoot over a little
chairs that are stuck to the ground as opposed to the rolling.
Yeah, where's our rolling chairs?
Like those units.
Where's Annie's dog?
We got to get Wilson in here. So I understand we got to get into the mic for good coverage. So we'll and I'll be leaning out so we get good eye contact like that.
Okay. And I'd also like to bring to the table another member that was on the panel. Tim, you can introduce our next because you were the moderator for the show and the panel, so please.
Yeah. There we go. One of our amazing partners, Surf Rider Kaua, and just the lead behind it for decades, I think now.
Yep, decades.
She is a legend in our community. Please welcome Barbara Weidner.
Hey, Barbara, welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Not the first time at a Hōʻike for you as well.
No, it's not. And KKCR is just a wonderful, wonderful place to come talk story with you guys.
Welcome to have you. Thanks for joining us.
So I'd like to start out by, Tim, if you'd explain who you are, the entity that you represent, and what you're all about, if you would.
Sure. Yeah, I just want to say mahalo for putting this together, and Jimmy and Barbara and everyone behind the scenes here, and everyone watching.
What a crew. Thank you.
This is awesome. Yeah, it's so cool to get the radio and the TV all in one. I was like, wow, that's really cool. Didn't know that was possible. So we're coming a long way.
We didn't either.
Yeah, it takes amazing people. It takes a village, as we always say. And Hōʻōmalu Kai is where I'm representing is a nonprofit ocean conservation organization on Kauai, and we do all sorts of things from marine debris cleanups like Surf Rider guys, but then we'll take some of the debris back to our facility in Kamakani at the old sugar mill where we've repurposed the building that is upcycling the plastics into hopefully like long-term products that aren't just going to go right back to the landfill, like building materials and things like that. Thank you, Max. And so we're doing that and getting the kids involved as much as we can. And we also started the first coral restoration nursery on Kauai, and looking forward to collecting our first corals next month here. Everything goes well. But yeah, we've been around for almost about 5 years, but the coral project has been more of like a 7-year personal mission, but it's sort of all blended into one. So yeah, Hoʻōmalu Kai means to protect the ocean, if you guys don't know. And yeah, that takes a village. Like, all of this is happening right now, and no one organization can do it alone.
So true.
Yeah. But that's, yeah.
Thanks, Tim.
So you're a nonprofit, I'm assuming?
We are.
Is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
C3, and Kauai Coral Restoration Nursery is a trade name under our nonprofit. So we kind of operate in synchronicity, but also, in coordination with a lot of other awesome organizations across the state.
And do you have a staff with your organization?
We do. We have mostly volunteers, but slowly but surely, hopefully, as we get more grants and funding, we can kind of afford to have a full-time staff is kind of the goal, and create those opportunities for the next generation.
You answered questions before I was going to ask you, which is perfect. I was going to ask you, how are you funded?
Right. Yeah. So it's always on the grant applications and everything like that, and doing our best to fundraise, and just trying to get out there in the community and show what we're about, and hopefully the right person comes around every now and then and helps us out. But lots of grant writing and reports for us. Yeah, for now. I
get that loud and clear.
Yeah.
And because we're all here together, which is really exciting. Typically we have phone calls but this is great to be in person. I love it.
Cool, right?
So
yeah,
very different.
So we'll kind of have a talk story style of a session, but, Barbara, would you mind please, tell us, everyone, who you are? Although most of us know you, but tell us who you are.
My name is Barbara Wigner, and I am with Surf Rider Foundation. We're an environmental group that works to protect ocean waves and beaches so everyone can enjoy our beautiful coastlines through activism. And what makes us a little different than some other nonprofits is in our mission statement, we have the word enjoyment in there, because our group was started by a group of surfers in Southern California 41 years ago. And their favorite place, break in Malibu, was being threatened by both development and pollution. They wanted to put a jetty in for any surfer who knows they're going to take away their wave. So they got their community together, and they were able to block that development and save their special place. And then that model of community members coming together to protect special places moved throughout the country and actually throughout the world. And Surf Rider Kauai started by a group of ocean lovers. I myself was one of them in 2006. And we're here dealing with our coastal issues. And they vary greatly from even Oahu or Maui or Mexico or different places. So we are really, it's a community focus. And I think that the public knows a lot about our marine debris removal program that we do with Tim and the community, and our water testing, where we go out and test our waters once a month. But we also have many other things that we do. We help our elected officials write laws like the plastic bag ban. Maybe some of you guys don't remember, in 2009 that ban passed. And in 2011, since 2011, when it went into law, we have no plastic bags, which makes it really different than islands.
It's so noticeable. You don't see those bags blowing all over the highway like we used to.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, something I'm very proud of, or that Surf Rider is very proud to be part of that, because it was really our community made that decision. But another thing we do is that when polluters and organizations and even the government break our environmental laws, we sue them. And that is, our legal action is where Surf Rider gets our teeth. Back in the 90s, when Surf Rider was a tiny organization, it went up against paper company and the pulp mills up in Pacific Northwest.
Oregon specifically.
And ever since then, we've been winning lawsuits. And so it's, although we're so local, we're run by a local executive committee that, and the gives us input. It's also so nice to have the big national organization behind us. We have really good lawyers.
Right. That's awesome. And it's necessary. How, Laura, do you have a staff?
We have a staff of 1 in the state.
Okay.
Yes.
I had a feeling.
We're all volunteers. Yes. And our funding, I know you're going to ask the question through funding. Our funding comes from private donors, but we also have several grants. Yeah, several grants, seed grants. We've been working off NOAA grants since 2013. And unfortunately, our funding will end in March because of the situation in Washington.
Well, that was the question I wanted to ask both of you, is how have you been impacted on these recent, in the current administration? And that's one. So did you have ongoing funding and now it's just been no longer or expiring or something like that?
Yes, we run our grants through Hawaii Wildlife Fund, and we're working with Hawaii Pacific University is our last grant that we're working on. And yes, we applied for a new grant and it was denied. Luckily, they gave us funding through the year, through March of 2026, which was a big win because a lot of people didn't get that. Yeah.
Did you also, I think, didn't you have Sea Grant is through UH Manoa, right?
Okay. Yeah, yes.
And that's staying in place as far as we know, fingers crossed, right?
No.
At the moment,
No, not the grant that Surf Rider Kauai is working under, no. Hawaii Wildlife Fund and Sharkastics on Maui. So it was a big statewide, because we're truly better together.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sharkastic. It sounds like we got to mention, we're going to have a pause in our conversation and have a KKCR announcement to make.
And we're back. This is a new format for all of us, so excuse if you hear things or we're going out of the lines. Sorry about that a little bit. We're radio folks so far. I wanted to touch bases with you. Tim, have you felt in your organization any negative effects, or have you been affected by the current political climate?
Yeah, luckily for us, we haven't really been in the realm of federal grants yet, or have been pretty grassroots 501c3 smaller grants for sure. So those smaller community grants have luckily not been affected. And one grant that we did go for with the state was affected through NOAA. Basically just no one heard anything, ghosted kind of everybody. But I feel for the federal workers through NOAA and everyone that is definitely going to be affected by those cuts, and HPU Marine Debris Program is definitely one of those. I'm actually a HPU alumni, and I'm very I wish they had that program when I was going there. But to see that it was such a cool initiative that you guys were going together, and to be able to study something like that, turning waste into functional materials and marine debris, and because we get so much of it. I think Barbara says, 70 to 80 tons a year on Kauai, something like that.
So free.
Yeah, that's useful materials. How much is lumber nowadays? So those guys were figuring out ways to turn nets into 2x4s and 2x6s and things like that. But, having those programs discontinue is just, I think overall probably affects all of us that are working towards positive solutions in conservation.
Right, and it comes in from all parts. I learned a lot from the film. You want to give a little background on how that the film screening came to be?
Yeah, I saw the film just on YouTube. I usually don't pay for films, but I was like, and David Attenborough is 99 years old. This is incredible. So once I watched it, usually those things can be kind of dark and not as hopeful towards, there's always a little light, but this thing really hit home because it did feature Papahanaumokuakea and the effects of protecting that large area, and had one of our own community members in the film, Palika Andrade. And I thought, how cool, this is amazing. And I reached out to the filmmakers, and I think any educator, I tried to let everybody know on KKCR about 2 weeks ago that anyone can reach out to the filmmakers on National Geographic's Pristine Seas, and they'll give you 4 plays. And we started reaching out to venues to try to see if we can show it around the community. Big shout out to Gregory Von Hosch and Kauai Community College, because he was awesome. He got back to us right away, and he's a new person in that role, but he's done incredible things in his short time. And for those that don't know, he ran the Fort Lauderdale Film Festival in Florida for like 40 years, and just brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to it. Just a really humble, nice guy as well. So good place to show films for anybody else that's looking to show some cool environmental things. And, you know, the suggestions started to come together like, hey, we maybe should have community booths, and wouldn't it be awesome if we had a panel, and wouldn't it be even cooler if Palika was there? And, you know, there was a lot of organizing and, you know, behind the scenes sort of stuff, but it really took a community and had a lot of awesome people with experience like Greg and like Terry Tico, who was on our panel as well. Awesome environmental lawyer for our community. Speaking of environmental lawyers, and yeah, so it just all came together, and we just put it out there on social media and tried to share it as much as we could on our website. And we didn't really expect more than maybe like 100 or 200 people. So when the place started to fill up in the lobby with all of our 12 awesome community organizations that came to represent and share what they're doing in our community, to the masses, it ended up being like over 500 people, I think.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an awesome evening and inspiring
really
panel.
Yeah.
So I just tried to put all my environmental heroes, plus minus a few, Barbara's one of them. I just started adding more and more people to the panel, and Greg was like, wait, we only have 30 minutes. People are only going to have 2 or 3 minutes to talk. So,
well, that's why when I saw Barbara, I said, oh no, you have to be part of the show.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. I'm so happy she's here so she can share.
So she is part of the panel now.
Yes. Yeah, she was in there in spirit for sure.
And one other missing person, unfortunately, well, not literally missing, no police report or anything, but is Bill Unruh, who he and I were talking about it since our last radio show. And he was on board, yes, I'll do it. But then when we changed the venue, it became a little bit tricky about calling in. So on that topic, where do we stand with call-ins now? We cannot have call-ins from our radio listeners. Is that correct, Max?
I didn't set up the board to do that, but I can set that up in a couple of minutes if you wanted to call in. I just didn't set it up because
I was wanting to see if we could open the door for a listener if they wanted to call in and ask a question from one of our guests. That would be great. If you cannot, you can
give me a couple minutes to set up the board.
Okay. Great. And then you could just let me know what that number is.
Thanks, Max.
I agree. Bill Unruh is amazing. He's definitely another environmental hero for our whole state. And he was one of part of the first survey team that got out to Papahanaumokuakea, the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, and did some of the baseline research on the coral reef ecosystems out there that is being used to kind of track the changes now. So he kind of got to see it back then, and just really had an awesome perspective to share on the panel. So we'll miss him on the call if he isn't able to call in, but again, he's here in spirit with us too.
Right. And there were more hoops because he works for Hawaii State, and so he had to get,
that can be tricky.
The stamp of approval from DLNR and all that. But he may appear in our next show if we're broadcasting from the studio. And then Barbara, welcome to the panel. I'm so glad you're here for this.
I love talking about the ocean and the island of Kauai. That's where my heart is. So, yeah.
And that big, beautiful ocean we all share somehow or another, so it is vital information. It really is. So I'll take you first. From your perspective, what are some of the most visible impacts of climate change specifically that you've seen on the ocean and you said above the ocean, under the ocean. I think you said, Tim, how you framed it.
I will just talk about what I've seen here on Kauai.
Yes.
In 2018, mid-April, we had a flood. We had a flood that impacted so many people on this island. And that, to me, was one of many weather incidents that we had that I believe has to do with climate change. And we've also seen where roads are giving out. We have Aliamanu Road, the south side of that. There's the north side, in Anahola, where part of the road washed out in recent years, and they had it had to be rebuilt, and it was a very long process. And those are just some of the climate change items that we've seen. And, you know, Surf Rider has 5 pillars to do with clean water and plastic pollution and beach access and coastal and climate is the other. So Surf Rider's been working for years in different places of the country on letting nature take its course. In the movie that we saw on Friday, a couple Fridays ago, that was one of the message of hope. If we just leave the ocean alone, it comes back so much stronger. And Surf Rider Foundation's solution to climate change is using natural solutions, such as planting native plants along the coastline, building up our dunes that will protect our roads and such, instead of walls.
And marshlands, too.
And marshlands, and just letting nature do the work. Because when we put in seawalls and such, over and over again, it's been a disaster. It makes it actually worse. So that's where Surf Rider wants to be very, very careful with any infrastructure type items we do, to have strong EISs, that there's environmental impact surveys, and that the community has a voice in that. I'm not sure if you guys were aware of the sand saver that was suggested by the Department of Transportation. That was in Wailua Bay. And of course, that highway is so important. Mm-hmm. If that highway washes away, half our community is
cut off.
It's going to be cut off. Right. So it's very important. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, what Department of Transportation suggested was putting cement blocks out in that bay, and they kind of put it in an emergency order back during COVID, without an EIS and without public input. And luckily, we had those good lawyers write a letter, and we were able to stop that. It's still in the works, but there's 5 permits that our community will have a voice to say, no, we do not want this, because it's not tested. They're really using Kauai once again
as a guinea pig. What is a sand saver? Can you describe?
A sand saver is a cement and plastic blocks where the sand comes through and then builds up the beach.
On the backside of the...
on the beach side.
Okay.
And so the sand comes in, and then when it washes out, there's these cement blocks. Yeah. We had a meeting where we had about 100 people showed up, and there's just so many reasons why it's wrong. But especially since there was 2 places they've used it before, Bahamas and Kenya, or might have been the Caribbean somewhere.
Oh, completely different coastal, completely different tide. Everything is different.
Anyone who has driven from the east side to Lahui and has looked at that ocean, right. On some days it is big and stormy, and there really wasn't a plan. What if it didn't work? That we were going to have more plastic on the beach and big pieces of cement. We didn't want that. That's just a little bit about some of the things we've been dealing with.
Right, and sometimes ocean comes up right to the highway. Yeah. And that little beach is getting smaller and smaller every day, it seems like. Yeah.
And the Department of Transportation had some great ideas that the community and Surf Rider both really support. And that is dune restoration using those native plants. There's plants, and I'm sorry I don't know the name of the specific plant, but it will actually catch the sand in its leaves, and it will build up that dune that will protect that road, that will make a natural barrier for keeping the water away from our highway.
Oh, that's a lot. And just the words you said, if we leave the ocean alone, that's a major feat. And I was just sickened when I saw it's funny, the film was so uplifting in so many ways, that part especially, that the ocean will heal itself, and it's evidence showing that. But on the flip side, there's man, scraping the ocean bottom and just taking willy-nilly anything that comes up and throwing some of it away, keeping what they want. That part was kind of shocking. I'm wondering, you mentioned that the film was on YouTube, and we keep referring to the film, and I want every single buddy to have a chance to watch it. Can you share how people can access that film?
Yeah, for sure. You do have to pay for it right now. So that's why we try to make this screening 100% free. And for the educators that do reach out to the Pristine Seas National Geographic guys to play it, I think that's one of the caveats. You just have to make sure there's no profits being made. So, that was one of the beautiful things about last Friday. We got to watch it for free. But if you have Hulu, if you have Disney Plus, or if you have YouTube Premiere, all of those platforms work for watching the film on your own.
Mm-hmm. And the title of the film is Ocean?
Ocean, just Ocean, by David Attenborough.
Because I think it had been done years ago, but then this is the latest, greatest, and most current, right?
Looks like we got a public service announcement coming up here. And it looks like we're back on.
All right. He is a natural, Jimmy. Watch out. Watch out.
I was checking my text.
We might be recruiting for a new Houseketeer,
I've got too many jobs already, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Come on anytime, though, for sure.
Okay.
My voice cracks up.
Well, I know both of you work with youth. Would you like to share a little bit about those? Either one of you can jump in first.
Yeah, I think Barbara works with the youth way more and has for a lot longer, so I'll let her take the lead on that one.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Tim. So Surf Rider Foundation's youth program, we work with both the public schools, the private schools, the charter schools, and kids groups, and sometimes kids from off island. Like this morning, we were working with a school called Wild Roots Learning Center, and so we took them back. We were on Aloha Bay, and we did an education program about Surf Rider Foundation, about protecting the ocean, and why we do beach cleanups. And so that group was just a typical service or field trip that we do for the community. And last year we're at about 2,000 kids a year, bringing them to the beach. What we have that our public schools do not is we have funds set aside for the buses. Mm. So earlier this month we were able to take 80 kids from Waimea over to the west side to do a beach cleanup. And it's just really fun to bring kids from all over the island out to beaches that really need to be cleaned. Mm-hmm.
And that was a blast. They loved it. We got to work with those same kids, which was really cool. This is how we kind of all connect the dots here. 2 weeks later, after their fall break, and I went and picked up all the marine debris that they gathered at Nukuli'i. 80 kids, they got like 400 pounds. It's so hard to get the tarp bag in my truck by myself. But luckily, there's a couple of stones over there. You can kind of roll it up and then back my truck up and then roll it up again. I brought it all back there, and they remembered the stuff that they picked up with you, and they remembered so many cool things that you taught them, Barbara, with Surf Rider, and they love the hagfish trap toss game. You throw the buoy in between the hagfish traps. It's we had a different game set.
Hagfish trap.
Yeah. What is a hagfish trap? I think we may have one over here.
Do we have some props that we can share with
our
yeah. Hagfish trap, and it's one of our community science projects that we actually in a 4-year period. In a 4-year period, we collected 20,000 of these island-wide.
Holy moly!
And so this is the eels swim in, and they can't swim out.
Come in this way, and then
yep, and they can't swim out. And how do we tackle this huge problem of marine debris if we don't know where it comes from? So we had to learn what it was, and
you've seen this, huh?
We learned that
over and over again.
Most people, if you frequent the east side of Kauai, you've seen this before.
Mm-hmm. So we had to do source identification to do source reduction. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Carl Berg led up this study, which again was a community science project where community members are collecting data to help the scientists solve the problem. So he has already been to Asia 3 times, speaking with the fishermen, working with environmentalists there, we chose at Surf Rider to take some of our money and donate it to the Japan environmentalists so they could continue to work on this. But we are hoping to have these made out of a plastic that biodegrades, but more importantly, that falls to the ocean floor. These are floating in the whale that washed up a couple years ago, sperm whale at Lidgate Park, 7 of these in its belly along with the plastic. It's covered with animal stuff, with food. So the stuff looks, tastes, and smells like the food. And another thing is that this part goes off and then the monk seal gets it stuck on its face.
Oh.
So a week after that whale washed up in 2023, a monk seal was found at Lidgate Park at Poipu Beach Park, and it had a scar really bad.
Oh.
Luckily it healed up in 3 weeks. It started healing up, and in about, I'm not sure if it was cared for 6 months or so. And now it's cruising. We've seen him or her out and about swimming, but these are very dangerous and
all over the place.
They're all over, and it's not, just like to tell the kids, this is on our island. Those 2 animals that in a week apart had injury or death. Mm-hmm. So that's why we are working with the fishermen in Korea is where most of them are coming from. Mm-hmm. We haven't gotten into China yet, so they might also be coming from China. But if we can work with the Korean fishermen, we will be able to turn off the tap. That's our goal, is to turn off the tap of the plastic pollution.
Sure.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot. It's a big initiative. That's sure. You know, and speaking of monk seals in the South Shore, I'm sorry, turtles that are the honu that are coming up, and in the evening time they pile up, and I don't care how many signs are up there, there's always somebody shining a bright light on these honu, or just trying to seek some peace and quiet and go to sleep for the night. What's up with that? And how can that even be, controlled somehow?
We have a group. I was with them this morning.
Yay!
Malama Na'a Honu. And they are the turtle group here on Kauai. They're actually statewide, but they are there keeping the public back. Mm-hmm. And they're there to educate, and they're in the schools like we are. They come to many of our field trips and educate the kids. Mm-hmm. So again, we're better together. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's good. I love that you're reaching to the younger kids, because sometimes that's the way the message gets reinforced. It really does.
I did want to ask you, in regards to both of you guys working with the kids, that whole experience of working with the kids, talk a little bit about how that, if you will, kind of feeds your soul, and then for them to watch them have that spark, have that aha moment. What is that like for you guys?
It is my true love is working with the children. I'm an educator. I've worked in the public schools in California for 14 years, and I went to school for a long time. And it's so good to be, now I'm just Auntie Barbara. I get to bring the kids on field trips. Mm-hmm. What I'm so surprised at is the interest of the kids. They are so interested. And we are teaching them what plastic is made out of, which, if you don't know, it's made out of oil and chemicals. And I share a story with the kids that I was working with gap year students in between high school and college, 15 of them from all over the country. They were going in to the very best schools, Georgetown, Yale, Harvard, Princeton. And I asked those 15 kids, what is plastic made out of? They had no idea, except one. Mm. And now she was at the booth. Our friend Willow, she was she was at the movie. She was one of the booths that was there. But that is, kindergartners can tell me what plastic is made out of. And when we can get the kids thinking, do we want to be drinking out of a container made out of oil and chemicals? Can we make different choices? And I'm really having hope that the kids, by learning about what big impact this is making in the environment and on our health, that as they grow up, they will talk with their pocketbooks and not be purchasing those items. Using glass or aluminum or cardboard are all types of consumer items that aren't plastic, which is just such a much better choice. Yeah, and it's been great joy working with them. Besides the young kids, we've also worked with some older kids in a little different way. And like the Key Club will come and do several cleanups with us, and we also had high school students intern with us. So they're planning the field trips, planning a beach cleanup, or we had one young lady who ran our social media and made films that were just awesome. So we're looking for someone, second semester, a high school student wants to put something on their resume or learn more about a nonprofit. Please contact us. Yeah. Yeah.
There we go. I'd like to ask you, Tim, in regards to some of the work you guys are doing and repurposing this plastic. What is it like for the young people to come and see, wow, we made this out of that?
It's pretty amazing.
What are some of the things that you're creating with this, if you will, discarded product?
Yeah, Jimmy, there's we were getting into that second part of the field trip there, so I'll just finish that story, that they got to come back, work with that plastic, those 80 kids from White Man Middle School that Barbara worked with, a couple weeks ago, and then they got to see the same plastic and then see how much of it they could bring back, to our facility to make into materials, or how much is now going to go to the landfill. And what's the landfill? And, really at the end of the day, it's back into nature. So for us, I think, it's a double-edged, we need to be using less of this stuff. But when in the reality that if plastic is going to be around, every bit of it that's ever been made for 500, 600 years, that means every bit of plastic that has ever been made still exists. So while we're getting out of it, what do we do with all this plastic that still exists? Yeah. And so, for the kids, it's an obvious, let's not make any more and let's figure out how to work with the stuff that's already here while we still have it, or while we still have to deal with it, because it's not something that they want to, we are encouraging, we want to make plastic products so we can have more plastic consumption. I've actually been kind of going against the community plastic intake for, kind of that reason, because when you create an outlet like that, it sometimes makes people feel like it's better and it's okay.
It's going to a good cause.
It's going to a good cause. But my number one answer to when people ask me is just stop buying it as much as you can, because we don't really have the infrastructure to deal with it. And that's why we're sending it off to places that also don't have the infrastructure to deal with it. And then 80% of it, like Barbara would know also, is that it's mostly in the fishing industry stuff, but a lot of the hard plastics are coming from Southeast Asia and places where they're just mismanaged waste systems, and they don't really have the infrastructure to deal with it from the get-go. So, well,
my dream, because we are people who are developing housing and materials are so expensive, and so my dream is if we could, like a permaculture environment where we're actually using things that we no longer want, but converting it into building supplies, and that would reduce the cost of a lot of things. And, as we know, it's pretty indestructible. Think about when polyester was the big thing, and now all that's going to be around for ever, long after we're gone. I guess the cockroaches and the polyester will be there, tons and tons and tons of it. Because the life of it lives eternally.
How do you keep it going? How do you reuse it? How do you repurpose it? What do they say? It's reuse first, and then reduce first, reuse, and then recycle. So just, stop using it in the first place if you can. Reuse it as much as you can. A lot of the marine debris we do just reuse instead. We've used the nets for things. I know Surf Rider has some really creative things they've made out of marine debris. But, just all the different angles make a difference, and it's not one of these things is going to be the the key solution. Just like we got into this problem, it wasn't one thing that got us here, but
No.
the climate change is an issue, and the plastic thing is kind of a part of it in a way, because
They're
it's
all
our effect on the planet.
right?
Well,
And-
and there was a time that it was an unheard of thing to have a single-use plastic bottle to drink out of, and then suddenly mainstream was, oh, I have to have purified water. It's no good unless it is in this plastic bottle. And that's like a conditioning process that we can thank, corporate America for, I think that.
And we still subsidize the stuff like crazy.
Yeah.
Because it is big oil and they're really hard to go up against. But that's why we love Surf Rider, because they've got awesome lawyers.
There is a long story behind that, which I don't think we have time for, but there's a film called Tapped. That back 19, 20 years ago, Surf Rider showed it all over. And it's the story of the plastic water. How the plastic water bottle and how that got into.
Yeah, it was brainwashing the whole, all of everyone really.
Perrier was getting into their market. And so on top of, oh no, I'm going into the story. On top of the plastic, they were stealing water from communities, the communities that didn't have the energy to fight them. So
I know. And
That's almost still going on in places like Fiji, right?
Fiji, and how they damaged and really decimated areas and turned it into a muddy place where it was beautifully water flowing. I mean, that kills me. I'm very interested in the water side of everything. Yeah.
But the kids all use their hydro flasks.
And that's good. And since when is, we are so amazingly, entitled that we can turn on the faucet and have water right there, that's clean and tested frequently and, and healthy and not touched by plastic. So we're very lucky about that. Since when did that get demonized? And it really is. People actually, I need bottled water first. I mean, it's been like a brainwashing thing. And I know that like Coca-Cola, the bigger companies, they saw that the trend was people are buying less and less bottles of sugar soda water, right? Soda. And so instead they thought, well, okay, all we need to do then is just use our purified water that they're already using and sell it for the same amount. What a genius idea, just stick it in the bottle and look where we are. And when you walk down any aisle or walk through a grocery store, what percentage is plastic? I mean, it's unbelievable, really. It's frightening.
It's everywhere.
And it keeps coming in, and including styrofoam. Why are those styrofoam coolers even still being sold here on this island? What do we do with that? That can't be recycled.
Well, I do think that there is a piece of legislation that all four of us here would be excited to know about, and that is the reduction of eliminating the accessibility of those styrofoam boogie boards.
I did hear about that.
We were collecting pieces today to bring to the county council. The other day we found a whole one at the beach, and it was in really good shape. So one of the students took it home, but mostly we find them all broken. And although the majority of the stuff that we are picking up off the coastlines is not from Kauai, but that styrofoam item is one. And if, just like we stop the plastic bag, if we can stop one item at a time, that is a step forward. So yes, I will be testifying for that.
So kudos to Councilmember Fern Holland for having that kind of foresight to say, hey, other people have done this. Why can't we?
I really would like to ban the plastic water bottle. So
I
that's
would
just
too. I would too. That's
a dream.
Especially the little tiny ones. It's one little drink and then boom, there we go. Now we're.
I mean, it's definitely the clamshell plastic, that our county definitely can't recycle with that. So I always have wondered, like, how come people that know they're bringing in plastic or products to our community that we know we can't work with, and there's a huge cost to that, right? So like, where is that absorbed? And it's, it ends up being on the solid waste guys or us. And, it's just interesting to me, like, how come we're able to bring things in that we don't know how to deal with?
Exactly. Another one is the helium canisters. How about them? It's a one-time use. And then what do you do with that thing? It's a metal container.
the clamshell. In 2022, we had the bill that said that there's no more styrofoam takeout. And so that was great. We had no styrofoam that blows around in lots of little pieces, but now we have the plastic. So that's where something we have to look at.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's shifted to a lot of these like number 5 plastic clamshells, which, you know, for us, that's the type of plastic we do work with. But taking that on would mean like, oh, great, we have a place to put it now, you know. But in reality, like if I took we took that type of plastic, it'd be dirty, it'd be gnarly, it'd be all these stuff like that. But the county can't accept it either. So it's funny that it shifted to another thing that we can't necessarily deal with. But it is, I would say, styrofoam is worse toxicity wise when you talk about the chemical content based on the oil than polypropylene number 5. But still, yeah, you know, let's stick to the things that we can. You know, we can deal with on our island. So,
and I think that that's one of the things that groups like Surf Rider or individuals that have a deeper understanding of what are we doing with this, and there's an alternative, is to have that, you know, producer responsibility, that extended producer responsibility, where they're taking, if you will, responsibility for what they're making. And that is, I think, something that both legislative as well as, you know, the market, the consumers are going to help drive some of these changes. I mean, we're buying, you know, Hydro Flask. We're buying cloth bags now. We can adapt or we'll get slapped. It's that simple.
I ask the kids, we do consumer education. And I talk about glass in the ocean. They know that it's made out of sand. It's going to turn back into sand. The cardboard or even the cartons, there is a film of plastic, but I've picked up, how many cartons do you pick up a year? I pick up maybe 3 kind of halfway dissolved, like milk cartons and then also the aluminum can. The aluminum is such a desirable recyclable item. So those are what I'm pushing, or the cardboard, or just buying your laundry soap in a cardboard box instead. And so I'm not Miss Moneybags. There's some very expensive items. So I just go to our local stores and I look for items in glass and all those other products that are a little bit easier on the environment that I can feel okay with.
Well, what is your take on now? Once again, I guess the public gets brainwashed about this is the best way, just like the bottles, single-use bottles. Coffee. Now, people don't make pots of coffee anymore. Everything's in a little plastic pot. Can you address that topic?
Oh, that's the worst. Yeah. And I believe the latest research, and I'm not a medical professional, but the latest research is that putting your coffee, draining it through anything plastic is not good for you.
Surprise.
No surprise there.
So what I personally use, either I use, the paper filter in a cone, or I just have a metal
screen.
It's a metal cone like this, but it's metal, and I put my coffee in here, pour it out, and then I can put that in my
compost your ground,
in my compost Kauai bucket, or put it in my garden.
Put it in your orchids. They love that.
So that is my take on that.
Well, there's alternatives too, because there's certain companies that force you to have to only use that. But I have one that's dual, and it just has a little basket, and it's just as efficient, easily efficient. And I know how to measure. I mean, it's not complicated. It's only 2 ingredients, water and coffee. So, and again, it has to do with education, where someone is buying something, maybe thinking, oh, is this the kind of thing that I can use alternatively, or am I stuck with having to buy a certain kind of a forever, getting a certain type of pod?
And so many people on this island are visitors. So we have an ocean-friendly visitors program. And we just always want to tell those visitors, I speak with them, and they are, well, I always bring my Hydro Flask, but not on vacation. You can't bring it. And I explain that you pack it in your bag or in your carry-on, dump out the water, and then on the other side of TSA, we have filtered water there almost in every airport.
Right.
not in every country that I've been to, but in
USA,
yeah.
it is. And they now pretty much have it pretty clear. You can put your flask right in there. Mm-hmm. So that's just a matter of training. But I think the reason that I do see, because I am back and forth on flights a lot, is because they don't want to pay $5 for a bottle of water at the airport. Mm-hmm.
There we go. So we are going to take a small kind radio break at the top of the hour. All right. We are back live in the Hōʻike studios with our second hour of the Permanently Affordable Living Hawaii radio show. And we've got Barbara Widner from Surf Rider Kauai chapter, and Tim L. I'm just going to call you Tim L. for now, from Hoʻōmalu Kai. And we're going to have some visual aids as well to talk about, in addition to all of the other things that's going on.
Yeah, you're good. Okay. Lots of trip around over here.
Oh man, can I just reach in and grab something?
Oh, you want to reach in? Yeah, it's a fun box to reach into.
Right there. Looks like that was made in Japan, or it could be China.
Oh, it's like a milk tea kind
Could
of
be
thing.
Korean. I'm just gonna guess. Shinug. Yeah, what do you think? It's a milk bottle?
Milk tea maybe, or milk.
Right. And that's a lovely thing to get stuck on a turtle's beak right there.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Also, it's on every plastic bottle, and it's a different number plastic than that plastic bottle.
Right.
So, recycling, it's really funny for us knowing like the melting temperatures of these things and having to be very particular about what we do work with. Mm-hmm. Because, melting these chemicals it can be really toxic if you do the wrong ones and you don't have the right filtration. Mm-hmm. So that's why we actually only work with polyethylene, number 2, number 4, so high density and low density, and then number 5, polypropylene. And most ocean plastic, as we know, doesn't probably have a number on it besides this one. Maybe we can call this number 088323258. But it's got some Korean writing or something like that on there. So we would normally just throw this away. But we've got this kind of cool plastic laser beam is what I tell the kids, but it's a infrared plastic scanner, and it measures the density of the polymers. So it will be able to tell us kind of like what types of plastic we're working with.
So can you do that?
Safely do that.
Or do you have to plug it in?
Yeah, it's actually portable, and so we just charge it.
Nice.
There's this version 2. These guys are out of Great Britain. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can even see it on the camera there, but yeah, sure, Jimmy. You want to try to scan it and see what it says? You have to keep it straight on there.
Unknown, too dark.
Too dark, yeah. So the dark plastics don't go through the color infrared, so we are right off the bat. We can't work with some of the darker stuff.
Unknown, too dark.
If you could keep it steady. If you put it right on the thing.
We go operator failure.
PE or PVC. So,
PVC.
It's learning as it goes, and this stuff is linked up to a Bluetooth that learns from everyone that's got the machines throughout the world that's working with like marine debris or plastics in their community. They're trying to, work with somehow. But if it's PE or PVC, then we would probably say no can, because if we melt it and it is PVC, the toxicity level goes through the roof. For us, polypropylene and polyethylene is about the same toxicity when you burn it as melting candle wax, but we still have these like vacuum filtration filters that go over our extruder and our sheet press machine that goes through a carbon filter from there. So the air that comes out, it's real clean, and we measure the carbon what the toxicity levels of the air through this little meter that the company that we operate out of, and anybody can look it up. It's called Precious Plastic, and it's like a global organization movement to kind of make these smaller recycling initiatives possible throughout the world. Kind of started in Europe, but it really spread throughout like third world countries, and they were just building machines out of parts they'd find from the landfill, like washers and dryers and things like that, and then they were just trying to kind of make materials because they're in areas where it was really hard to access materials, lumber and things like that. So it's all open source. So you can go on to Precious Plastics website and see all the different, science behind everything and
we had
toxicity levels
a
of
Hawaii
different
chapter for.
Yeah, we did. So we were working with Abe Cowitz before on this program, and we were kind of the ocean plastic sector to it and helping him process everything. But, it became a lot for him to try to keep it up as a for-profit and,
one person trying to do it all. It's really
he was a
difficult.
new dad at the time. Yeah, I give him so much credit, but he made some changes in the community. We would do these night markets with people, and we would collect community plastic at that time. And, we had 3 strike rule. So if you brought dirty plastic from your house, we say, okay, strike 1, strike 2, you've got strike 3, we send you back home with your plastic.
Yeah.
But what the program actually was cool, because we did make everyone scrub their plastic. The labels, everything had to be clean because we didn't have the capability of processing that stuff, and you go through all kinds of other permitting and everything like that. So people would get really mad because it takes a long time to wash
I thought
your
I
plastic.
threw that away, and now I'm taking care of it.
So they would come back with less things over time. So I think generally he did a great job of starting to kind of start that conversation of plastic usage along with Surf Rider and so many awesome organizations that are trying to get that message out there. But for us, we're just okay, what do we do? What do we do with all this marine debris? And for us, we've figured out 30 to 40% of the plastic here. Maybe you want to scan this guy. What is that, Barbara?
That's an oyster spacer. It's used in oyster farming. And there's
oyster spacer?
Yes, so the oysters
attached.
There's a line that runs through here, and the oysters are down here. And there's some cleanups where we found 800 of these, like on International Coastal Cleanup Day. This is a very we see this a lot. Yeah.
What country do they originate from, do you think?
I think a lot of them did come from the tsunami that in Japan.
Okay, talk about that, because we are getting a lot from elsewhere as well, not just our own debris. So the tides, and how is that? Why are we
We live in the middle of the North Pacific Gyre, or the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So there's 5 gyres in the world in each major ocean. This is a worldwide problem. It's just not here in the North Pacific. It's really a huge problem. And as the currents, we work with several scientists at Hawaii Pacific University and HPU that are studying those currents. And that tsunami, we knew the day that it happened, and so we've been studying the currents as the items come in.
I see.
And in the last uptick that we had that started September 2023, we had a decrease in stuff coming in, and then we had a spike.
Wow.
We're hoping right now, are you seeing a little bit less? Yeah. We're hoping in July.
So peak trash has happened.
Where I think 2025 is going to be similar to 2024, at least over 100,000 pounds. But the scientists, they're studying the currents correlate 0.91 is just almost identical to what we come in. So it basically goes in the Pacific, it goes up to Alaska and Canada and the West Coast, and then it circles back. And in that last year of uptick, we started seeing items that we didn't see in a while that we believe are from the tsunami. This is the unscientific. I'm an educator and not a scientist, but
you're able to track it by what's happening and when it arrives. It sounds like.
Yeah, the big plastic pallets we never saw before 2011. 2013 is when we really started seeing the stuff come in. The canisters that are this big that are from propane. The tires. We had so many tires, brand new tires, wash up on our shores that weren't from people polluted.
Not tossed off by any whale watching boat.
Yeah, no, this is all stuff. So that tsunami really, the community and the world had interest in marine debris. And yeah, so we're still seeing some of that stuff because a gyre is whirlpools of current that's collecting those items that are collecting in the North Pacific gyre or the North Pacific garbage, collecting all those things that come from boats, from the fishing industry, but it also comes from land.
Right.
That with the rivers all going to the ocean from all over the world. We've found stuff from literally all over the world. I found a fertilizer bottle from India. So that's far. That came a long way. It could have fallen off a ship, but who knows?
Right.
No, you really do. I found things from Dubai, the Panama Canal, and then it's also you think about, we ship a lot of our plastic, recycling and things like that to a lot of these countries. So sometimes it's American stuff, but it's been there for so long. You wonder where it ended up in the ocean. Did it actually end up in the ocean in California, or did we send it somewhere else and then it ended up in the ocean there? But it's mostly things that aren't from here, like Barbara said.
And in beginning of December 2020, there was another event. It was Opus One, which is the container ship with, the container ship got in a huge storm and the containers fell off. And what were in those containers? Crocs, helmets, Yeti coolers,
floating items.
This mat that you'd put in a kindergarten class. So this was an opportunity for our marine debris geeks and our marine debris scientists. We know exactly the day that those items fell into the ocean. And so unlike, some of the other items, we don't know how long this hagfish trap has been in the ocean. 1 year, 2 years, 10 years. The items that were washing up, the Crocs, the mat, we know exactly how long they've been in the ocean. So not only were the scientists studying the currents, they were also studying how different types of plastic actually break down in the ocean. And we've been working with, it was just an opportunity to do some more objective studying of breaking down and the currents. So yeah, and that was one of our community science projects where we were collecting the Crocs and collecting the mat and giving them to the
And
scientists.
that's exciting because for kids of all ages, really, to have hands-on learning and connecting the dots rather than just sitting here and talking about it. They're actually in there doing the work, which is the way anyone really learns,
And the helmets were really fun. They were like unicorns and
we found a few of those, And then what was it was like a almost rainbow color Wilson volleyball. On the same boat,
Sorry, the Wilson container. Volleyballs, footballs, soccer balls, and tennis balls. Yeah.
Wow. And so how did the container open?
That's what I wanted to know.
When they fell, did they sink and then
they came apart or what?
I think that they
opened up.
They fall apart. Yeah. Remember, it was a huge storm.
Right.
Yeah. So they were
didn't
jostled
sink
around.
to the bottom. It floated. They have foam. They have styrofoam in them.
And it's wood.
Pieces of them have washed up on our shores before here. So yeah, Papa'a Bay was one for a very long time. Yeah. So we don't know that part. Sorry, Jimmy, I don't have the answer.
It's always amazing. And it just, again, shows us how interconnected we are, And I think people that have lived on coastlines or island folks, they understand better than, folks that are just in the interior. They don't have that relationship, but they have relationship to the land. And we all, can appreciate water and it's...
Well, and anyway, the water sources that are available, even in the middle of the country, eventually come out to the ocean anyway,
Yeah, and there's reverence for it when it's, at its source.
I wanted to ask too, because it's circling back a little bit, but about the water bottles and the little ring on there and the caps, because they specify on the can, when you're doing your recycling, it says bottles with caps. Okay. So, but the cap is different. So does that mean to people, leave the cap on, take the cap off? What do you do with the cap? There's some gray area there. And so I feel like more education to everyone is going to be required. And also you mentioned dirty. And for example, a milk jug, okay, it doesn't smell that good because it's yucky, right? But it is recyclable. It's a number one.
Yeah, let's talk about contamination a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a good good place for our people that deal with the waste to be a little bit more transparent to our community of like just pictures. Like, hey, this is what it looked like today.
Right. Well, Andy was on the panel.
Andy's amazing.
And he is
incredible work.
Yeah, he really is. He is.
And so I think,
be Andy Boyd from the county.
Andrew Boyd, the recycling coordinator for the County of Kauai and recycling solid waste. And he's been one of our bigger advocates of trying to get this stuff more into the community. And I do want to do it, but I also want to do it in a sustainable way and not bite off more than we can chew.
Right. But that seems like a pretty quick fix, is because I mean, how good is it if the things that are being recycled are either too dirty or with the cap? And because I know that's a different material.
Yeah. I think like just really showing like, hey, this is I know we all want to recycle and put these things in the bin. But like looking at it, and we don't want to wish cycle, right? So if it doesn't have the number of the thing that you want to put in that recycling bin, it's hard to, as a consumer, as somebody that cares about the land, you actually feel like it would be better to, I think a lot of people do this. They think it would be better to just put it in the recycling bin anyway, and they'll figure it out. Somebody will figure it out. It's always somebody will figure it out.
But then that's more man hours.
So that's where it becomes this, like, if we don't have this materials recovery facility, which is what Andy is always kind of chanting, MRF. If you got a MRF, then maybe you could do that. You could think about things like curbside recycling and really taking on more. But if you can't deal with the things that you're already taking on, when it's kind of not easy to recycle the way it is, but it's not clean the way it is either. So like maybe foundationally get that infrastructure solid and then be able to take on more is kind of our mentality.
So who does that, I wonder? Like, who digs into it and says, cap should come off, the little ring should,
Yeah, well, it's a number. I think the Garden Isle Disposal has the contract for the recycling on the island, and there's some other contracts that people take on recycling, like Reynolds and Kauai Community Recycling, I'm pretty sure.
But if it's already
it's on their
prepped,
website, on the county's website.
So to feel good about our effort to recycle the plastic, then we would rinse it out and we would remove the cap and also the little ring.
I think that's probably the concept, unless you're otherwise told that it's just follow the rules of wherever you're doing it. For us, it's like we're only working with ocean plastic, and we have a perspective of really small recycling machines. So when people say like, the plastic bottles I bring to Reynolds from the beach, they don't have a label on them, so we can't take them. So it's like mind blowing. Like for me, I would have to take the label off the bottle if I wanted to go recycle that bottle, and if it's the right number, and the right type.
And that's where this is very handy.
And that's where this is super handy, especially none of this stuff has a number. And maybe it's handy, like HPU is kind of working with Surf Rider on, is to figure out, like, if you can figure out what type of plastic it is, that helps you to figure out who is producing it and things like that. As a 501c3, I would like to say Ho'ōmalu Kai, we can't really have as much of a political opinion as much as like a foundation like Surf Rider, but that's where we all work together. So I think that's where it's really cool that, we're figuring out some little solutions here and there, but we are totally like open to help support like those types of causes where we're like, that's probably, in the general vicinity of a solution, but we're just quite, humbly working. I think 10% of our efforts can be sort of towards that, but not like we're not like politically
it takes a village
doing things. Full village effort. So I was going to ask Jimmy, what number of plastic was this oyster separator that we found 800 of them on?
It just said
cleanup?
PE.
PE. So that's high density polyethylene, which is about half of the plastic almost, they think, in the garbage patch.
And is that a good plastic?
That's the number of plastic we can work with, actually. So
is that the garbage patch that's the size of Texas, or maybe it's bigger now?
That's the North Pacific Gyre.
It is the gyre. And there's multiple gyres, right?
And there's, like we said, there's 5.
For each ocean?
For each ocean. And it's more of, not like an island, it's more of a soup. So that you can sail through, and everything floats at different levels. So some of it's up, some of it's down. And unfortunately, it's where the animals feed is the surface. So
they're attracted to that.
Birds are diving down. Our albatross and all our seabirds on Kauai, unfortunately, all have plastic in their bellies.
Well, we all do too.
Yeah.
Newborn babies.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Yes.
Well, and another question, because we're talking a lot about plastic,
Yeah.
and we are aware, to a small extent, learning every day how impactful it is. But how does that affect climate? And what's the impact, and why is it climate change as a result of plastic?
Yeah, reduced methane thing. You know?
Yes, it's changing the pH level in the ocean, and it's really creating a lot of problems. But
touch on that. The pH level is changed, which
this is not
what the fish.
It's not my area of expertise, but
Okay.
I would love to circle back to focusing on some climate change issues and some action that's happening here on the island that I think a lot of people don't know about. We have HILT, which is Hawaii Island Land Trust, and they are working at Kalihi Beach Reserve, and I believe they have almost 18 acres where they're working on the beach reserve, and they're doing coastal restoration. So, and that is a group that we're partnering with, doing both community work days and then bringing the kids there as well. Getting rid of the invasive or the non-native items or plants and trees, and planting the native plants that are going to catch the sand, that are going to build up those dunes that the kapuna tell us that they were once so big there at Kahili. And another thing that I want the community to know is those ironwoods, why they're cutting down the ironwoods. What do you guys think? Why are they cutting the ironwoods there at
Because it
Kahili?
held the ground well. For
The
one.
ironwoods kill it. Take up all the resource. So the natives are dying. And if you've been to the Hyannis side of Anahola Bay there at Waipa, where I paddle out at my favorite surf break there, the big ironwoods are falling into the ocean because the natives that are holding the land there the ironwoods have taken over all the resources. Just so that is what is happening there at Kahili. If anyone's interested in getting involved, we'll be with some sixth graders from Kilauea School there on October 30th, and we'll be learning. Kapule is the steward there, and he is an amazing educator, and he's teaching the kids about traditional Hawaiian land preservation, which is just amazing. And, you know, it fits right in with what all of us are doing. Yeah.
The original scientists, astronomers, biologists,
So it's...
the knowledge is there.
And we have been talking about, we don't have a date set, but we'd like to have another community work day where we bring the community out to plant some native plants. And there's another Hawaiian group who's doing some really strong work. That is the Lovell Foundation, Ka'alau Limu, project, and Auntie Nalani is there in Anahola on the north end, the north side of the river there, and she has just in the last year taken stewardship of a preserve that she's created there.
Is that Nalani?
Yes. So, so there's two pieces of land. One is Makai from the canoe club. The other is Maka, and it's wonderful things are happening there. So we're also
She's doing great work.
Very great work, planting natives, and also having a space where children can come, and also we've had all of the staff from Kapa'a Elementary School came out there for one of their in-services to learn about traditional Hawaiian ways. And I was just so honored that Surf Rider was invited as well, because we are just work hand in hand with preserving these special places. And And then if you keep on going north on Aleomanu Road into the Apua of Aleomanu, which is our smallest Apua, there she has one other piece. Right on the other, another piece of land that we're working to preserve. And it is on just right past that one lane bridge part. So I just really wanted to say a shout out to these groups who are just really moving forward. And as so many different groups contact Surf Rider, let's do a beach cleanup together because you've been doing it forever. We're partnering with these groups and saying,
good for you guys.
Let us be part of it. Let us take some of our funds to buy those plants. Let's all work together to protect our beautiful island. And these are the natural ways that we can work against climate change.
Well, you mentioned two organizations taking on pieces of the land. And have you heard of Kipuka Kuleana? They recently, it's a nonprofit that started right around when PAL started in 2018. Tina Ayu is the executive director of that org.
Oh, they're island-wide. Okay.
Yeah, we had her on as a guest. Yeah. And what they did was there was a little lot of, a small-ish lot of land in Wanini or Anini. And so they took that on, and now they're turning it into a community accessible place. And they're cleaning it all up and making it available.
I am familiar with that group.
Good. Okay.
And that piece of land that they purchased, that was a place before we had our yard. That's where for 5 years, Scott Bacon and his family stored our nets. So from 2007 until 2012.
It was a little backyard.
It was their house where they lived, and in the backyard they had we had giant piles of nets that we collected, and we would load our containers from there. So we're forever grateful for them. And then I heard that organization purchased that very special. It has history.
Yes, it does.
History of doing good.
Yeah. And the fact that the land then is staying. It's not getting gobbled up by a developer or by someone who wants a beach house, which is awesome.
And that is a special spot. That whole area of Anini is just,
Tim, about your work, coral reef work, or coral restoration, how does that play into the whole topic of climate change?
I was curious because I was thinking, what does a coral nursery look like?
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because we haven't really had one on Kauai up until now, Jimmy, and we were actively working on changing that for about 7 years. And as well as a couple of awesome other people in the community. You mentioned Scott Bacon, and, you know, I worked with Emily Broderick at Kauai Community College before to try to get one going there. So this is actually my third attempt working on a coral restoration nursery on Kauai,
on the island.
but we've been having to travel to go to see what one looks like you're saying, Jimmy. So we've been really working closely with the people that have developed and are pioneering the methodology. Because if you think about climate change, you know, it's affecting all of our forests are disappearing. It's the same things happening underwater, but we just can't see it. And that was kind of part of one of the messages of Ocean was that, you know, a lot of these coral reef ecosystems that are going away or, you know, being trawled and stuff like that, we don't see it every day. So if it goes out of sight, out of mind. But these coral reef ecosystems are having the same troubles as the other natural ecosystems on land are. So 30 to 50% of coral reefs in Hawaii have actually died in the last 10 years. And a lot of people don't know that, you know. I'm born and raised in South Florida where 95% of our coral reefs have died. And I got to see that happen mainly in my lifetime. And that was really hard. So it's like, we still have a chance here with our coral reef ecosystems. I mean, they even bringing it back to plastic too, that coral polyps have little tiny microplastics in their guts, right? So it's like if the heat isn't going to get them, because these things operate in this certain temperature, it's just like our bodies, you know, like if we run too hot for a long time, we're going to have a fever and keeps on going. We're not going to do so well. Right. And that's kind of what's going on with the hotter parts of the year, as these corals are stressed by these other land-based stressors like Anini, like shout out to McKenna and Mia that's just done some awesome master's research up there to try to measure the effects of the freshwater inputs and what's that going on with the coral disease. And coral disease and coral bleaching is almost one of the same, because it's like these corals are experiencing multiple stressors, and it's hard to say what's that one that made it go to the tipping point. But if you have all of them and the water heats up and these corals are like exposed to this like really heavy hot climate, these little tiny little micro algae that live inside the coral polyp, that's the animal that gets the food heterotrophically, like it eats regular food, but it mostly gets the energy from these little photosynthetic microalgae, the zooxanthellae that's inside, and they get stressed out. The coral is stressed out. It gets this sort of like mucusy stuff, and it spits them out. And then they have they're really susceptible at that point, because then they're bleach white. And you've heard of coral bleaching. A lot of people have. And if you haven't, check out the movie Chasing Coral. I think came out 10 years ago now, but still relevant. They have Hawaii in there. And it goes through the blob that we had. We had a marine heat wave in 2015 and 16, and took out most of that 30 to 50% that I was telling you about. The issue on Kauai for like people not really knowing about it here in our community is that we only have like 3 or 4 scientific divers on our whole island. Oh, wow. And baseline scientific research for the state really only goes back to like 2016 or 17, like with the current crew that they have. And then maybe the structural stuff in the 90s in a few select places like on the North Shore. But there's still like most of our island that we don't have baseline documented research. We have anecdotal data from these amazing kupuna that told us like, hey, this used to be like this. The water used to be a lot cleaner, used to get more fish abundance, and why was that? And just habitat degraded, and when habitat degrades, like our house isn't there anymore. We're not going to live there. We're going to go try to find a new place to live. So that's kind of like, it all comes down to like, should we care about corals dying? It's food. We love fish. A lot of us rely on that as a resource and sustenance in our community. So we need to protect the habitat. And so they say without coral reefs, 25% of all marine life wouldn't exist. Right. It is a keystone species for so much of the ocean. So for us on Kauai, we're getting it going and learning from some experts, but we'll hear more after the public service announcement.
Been up our program 5:30, hour and a half, just like that. So I'm not sure what we're going to say for the best.
We've just scratched the surface, really, when you think about it. So with the climate change, which way is it? That the temperature is heating up and therefore it's affecting the coral, or and how does plastic play in? Is it affecting the temperature of the water? Because when the water gets warmer, then we have more potential of hurricanes. So can you go into that?
Yeah, I think it is all connected. Like Barbara knows, I mean, if you leave plastic in any environment, it's releasing methane. Like any plastic around us right now is small amounts of methane. Off-gassing. But if it sits on the surface of the ocean in the hottest parts of it, it starts kind of off-gassing faster and really does warm up the ocean. And the beaches, they have some research that shows it completely messes up there's a whole community in the sand, right? So if you've got all this layer like at Nuku'ali'i and some of our hot spots on the east side, that it's just this layer of plastic in the sands, and those really hot days, the ecosystem in the sand maybe is too hot for the things that live in there. So we're talking about, warm temperatures and plastic, and that affecting coral reefs, and that affecting monk seals, and all this stuff is so connected. So whatever one thing you can do, I always say do that. Start where you're at, right? That's all we can do. And, doing something's better than nothing. We like to talk about these things, but Barbara mentioned a lot of awesome local initiatives, and there is so many local initiatives. If you just do a search, Kauai Volunteer, and you'll see what the local solutions that are on islands that you can get involved with.
It's exciting that you all are including the young folks in school, because it's a great career opportunity. What other place do we have a lab right around us?
Right, and now Hawaii Pacific University has a whole coursework in marine debris. And it was really interesting to see how that's developing. And yes, I wish that you were able to have that. And speaking of that, I just want to give a shout out for another movie that's coming to KCC. That's Kuleana. And our partners at Hawaii Pacific University are featured in that film. And that is on November 1st at 4:00. And you will see the Center for Marine Debris is going to be there, going to be featured. And that's where we send our marine debris to be studied. And they're really getting somewhere. And the last meeting I had with them earlier this month, I was just very impressed with that they are really getting to the point where the nets are coming from, where I used to ask that question. They're like, Noah, the head of the marine debris removal program in Hawaii, Noah, and they say, Barbara, we don't know. And so there's been a lot of trying to find that answer, and I think HPU is now getting close with their Center for Marine Debris Research.
Okay, so announcing then the film Kuleana on November 1st at 4:00 at KCC Performing Arts Center.
I believe there's several other films part of this film festival, but this is one of them that, of course,
it's a film festival.
It's a film festival.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yes, there's a 2:00 showing, and I'm sorry I don't know the name of those films. There's a 2:00 showing of a different film, and then.
Do you know how we can find that out online?
Yeah, well, it would be the KCC website. Yeah.
Oh, not a film festival website.
Not that I think it's there. I know that this is, a couple of days ago, they just had the premiere on Oahu for this film, Kuleana.
Yeah, because Kauai Community College has a pretty robust website.
Greg, who is new at this position, is doing a fabulous job. And Surf Rider will have a table there. He is the new performing arts center. Yes.
So what's the website, Jimmy, for KCC?
I would think it's going to be Kauai.community.
Or KauaiCommunityCollege.com.
Kauai.edu or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, .edu. That's
Yes.
Okay.
.edu.
Right. Okay.
And I was going to ask in regards to the challenge of how do we raise the next generations of Terry Lilies and Scott Bacons, the future scientists, divers that are going to be inspired to stay here and do this kind of work.
Well, first they have to have a place to live.
The website is kauai.hawaii.edu.
Oh, good.
Thanks, Max.
So if people want more information about that film festival, they can visit kauai.hawaii.edu.
And was there a way for any callers who may be interested in calling in? Is that a possibility yet or no?
I would need a break in order to do that, or we're off the air and we don't. Yeah, sorry.
All right, that's okay.
Sorry, callers.
No.
Next show.
Yeah, sorry, callers. Callers like to call usually in the last 5 minutes anyway, I notice, so.
Certain callers do.
Yeah. No, a lot.
Going back to Jimmy's question there, though, I mean, we have a scholarship coming out here soon for dive certifications, and we are going towards the path of becoming an AAUS organization so that we could also create scientific divers.
Certification
It is a certification program where it's just like all the universities, all of the state organizations, the DAR guys over here are the only ones that are the AAUS organization. So if you want to become a scientific diver, and you don't want to leave Kauai, you kind of have to start volunteering with them. And then they're very, they have a lot of hats they wear as a small team that they are. So the capacity thing may not really be there. So we're trying to bridge that gap.
Nice.
So be on the lookout on Ho'omalukai.com if you guys are following us there on Instagram. And we'll be posting about that soon. Because we just got mahalo everybody who voted to the County of Kauai Innovation Grant.
Oh, you guys were selected.
Building Kauai's coral restoration workforce.
Wonderful.
We want to keep you guys here,
Yeah.
and we want the kids that grew up here and know these reefs really well to have these opportunities to stay here and do that important work.
So that's great to have a career trajectory, but it's pretty important as well. And why we're here is permanently affordable living, okay? Because if there's nowhere to live, people will go somewhere else. Sadly.
It's number one.
Our folks, our kids are leaving.
it is the number one issue on this island that I'm seeing. That's just me. That's my personal opinion. And so thank you for starting the organization and sticking with it.
Right. It is actually the root cause of so many of the woes that we have here on island, sadly, of all the things, including, domestic violence, suicide, depression, anxiety. It's like everything's connected.
We need housing.
Yes, we do. Affordable housing, permanently affordable housing.
Right.
Yeah. So we're working on that. And actually we're building now, I'll put a little plug in there. If you sign up on our PAL, Hawaii.org and just go to newsletter or news, and you can sign up for the newsletter, and it'll kind of tell you what's going on. And we are currently actually building. If you drive by our site at Namahana in Kilauea, which is directly across the street from the post office, right near where the whole little new shopping center is, actually building, and it's happening. It's finally happening. You mentioned 7 years. I don't know. That's the magic number somehow. Us too. It only took 7 years to get that started. Woohoo!
You need to start. We need to start taking action. So you took action 7 years ago, and here we are. And secure housing I never have been so happy to have a home, which I've lived in for 24 years. You know, it's like, it's safe. No one's taking it away from me. And I know that's, not the same for everybody.
Well, and there's so much necessity for volunteerism. But when our folks are so busy in 3 jobs and have children and so tasked with everything else, and then be insecure because they need to have that with our cost of living to afford a place to live, and then you're never completely confident. So if you actually have a place that's affordable to live, you can breathe a little easier, and you can start giving back because you have capacity now suddenly, more than you would ever have had when you're constantly worried, am I going to get the 45-day notice? And I see it every day. Every day people are saying, okay, I got notice, and now what? So it's a big deal, and we wish we could tackle it in a grand way and tell you, okay, we're working on, 500 units, but
you start where you're at. Where you're at is the best place.
Yes.
And you build upon that, and you build such a solid foundation to grow from. So it's definitely inspiring, and we admire.
It takes a village.
Yeah, it does take a village.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah. So on that topic, any other questions for our wonderful guests? I'm so happy you guys came to do this.
And thanks for staying for the whole show.
Yes.
Fantastic.
It's kind of fun this way to have a talk story this way.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you so much, Leilani, for giving me the call, and Jimmy and Barbara. There's like a couple guys behind the scenes over here working their butts off.
Thank you, crew.
To all those guys. Yeah. Everyone watching.
I know, we need to turn the camera around and see what you all are doing. Right, Bronwyn? Come on.
Here at Kauai Community Media. So I've got a question in regards to Tim, how did you get turned on to this? What was the spark?
Well, growing up, getting to see those coral reef ecosystems disappear in my lifetime. And,
were you a surfer, a diver?
All of the above, anything in the ocean you can think of. I definitely love.
Your folks were fisher folks. You got to spend time. Were you on the West Coast or the East Coast?
On the East Coast. So, yeah.
What town were you in Florida?
Pompano Beach.
Oh, wow. I lived there.
Oh, no way. That's a crazy place for somebody to know, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I know. I lived
smaller.
there about 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So
South Florida?
Yeah, it is South Florida. So we don't have any surf. It was made me really hungry for surf as a kid. So
none
I'm
to
I want
speak
to go to
of
Hawaii
anyway.
or Florida, California or somewhere that had waves for college. And anyway, I ended up in Hawaii through a scholarship for HPU, and I didn't get to study marine science because it was beyond the dollar amount of my scholarship. I didn't come from a lot of money either and stuff, but yeah, I just did my best and worked in tourism for a little bit. I was into diving and started volunteering with a couple of organizations, and went back to school. Actually had an opportunity. My dad passed away. I sold his house, and I had like a little bit of money, and it was definitely not enough money to buy a house on Kauai. So I was like, what am I going to do? Keep getting yelled at by tourists at the front desk, or take this like leap of faith that I always wanted to do and be happy with what I do every day. So that was about 8 years ago. And I went to KCC, shout out again to those guys. Studied marine biology and did as much as classes as I could. I went to Oahu a lot. I started volunteering with the Division of Aquatic Resources on Kauai, working with guys like Scott Bacon and cleaning up trash with Surf Rider, did a couple cleanups, and a lot of my friends were from Kauai. We all went to school together, and they loved the same things and studied environmental science. Nice. And just wanted to make something happen, like for, among their generation. So we all kind of got together and organized Ho'ōmalu Kai, and yeah, we're doing it. So we're all kind of in our younger 30s, I guess, later 20s.
Perfect.
But
Then you'll have some longevity. We love that.
Longevity, and we'll keep passing it on. And I think they're just trying to fill niches that aren't already, like, we're not trying to step on anyone's toes doing this. Barbara knows this. Like, we're better together, everyone that we can. And, yeah, so I'm grateful to be able to do this every day. And I just took the leap of faith. I went full time with the Division of Aquatic Resources, and then just maybe a month ago, after 2 years or so with those guys, full time. I'm now full time with Ho'ōmalu Kai. So nice. I'm not getting paid full time, but I'm putting full time efforts and energy into it, so that hopefully we can hit our 7-year point, and
there we go, and getting rewarded full time.
You're off
and getting
to a great
opportunities
start.
for the next generation. Yeah, that's a big part of it for us.
Yeah, no, that is just fantastic.
Yeah.
We're grateful for that scholarship because it brought you to us, so yay.
Yeah, it's funny, full circle thing. You never know how it's all going to work out, but yeah.
Well, and I think it's just important for, listeners, audience, our community to know that there are community players that understand that we're more better together, that as a community, when we build community, we build capacity. When we build capacity, we build resiliency. This is what's going to help us through the hardships that, we all, whether it's economic, it's environmental, there's always some kind of challenge that's out there, something that's difficult for us to confront, but together we can kind of weather those storms easier. And to have younger people picking up the torch, willing to take it further and then pass the baton on. And working with young people in the school setting, it is the most challenging, but what else better should we do than grow food and grow kids? And so that's how we got to continue to move on.
And starting with inspiring them and showing them there is a path, that they can. They don't have to go into some boring old job. It's pretty exciting to be working on the ocean in some capacity or another.
Mm-hmm. And Barbara, what brought you to Kauai?
Oh, my friend moved here after the hurricane. So I started, my first visit was in 94. And the minute I stepped off the plane, madly in love. Unfortunately, I had lots of stuff, like I was working on a master's degree. I was doing all this stuff in California. I wasn't able to move. But the last thing was the dog died. And that was back when there was a quarantine. So I was like,
you up.
I'm free, and I worked for a union. I was teaching in California. I could take a 1, 2, or 3 year leave of absence. I couldn't afford to buy a house in San Diego County. But that little money I put aside each month, I was able to buy a house here in Kapahi 24 years ago. So I
feel that was the right time.
It was, yes, it was very affordable.
Before Kauai was discovered, actually.
Yeah. And then, I'm an ocean swimmer, surfer, and I was at Kahili Beach hanging out with Sherry Sari, and she saw my Surf Rider sticker. That was a gift. In San Diego, Surf Rider was very big, so I knew what Surf Rider was, and I received a membership as a gift from my sister, who was a non-consumer, and for Christmas. And so we started a conversation about starting a local chapter. A local chapter, and that's what we did in 2006, and it's coming up on our 20 years. You guys are all invited to the party. Stand by. We're going to have a big bash, so I hope everyone can come. But it's been a joy. And Surf Rider Foundation I have done the most things I never thought I would be doing, like sitting face to face with Mazie Hirono in DC and talking about all this problem, or working under a helicopter. I was trained to attach those big super sacks to under a helicopter, or being a judge for an art show, the Marine Debris Art Show. I'm like, okay. Anyway, it's been really joyful, and it's really, my love for the ocean it's been really wonderful being part of the community and meeting so many people from all over the world who have the same passion and love for the ocean as I do. And yeah, we are better together, and we really hope that my hope is with the kids, and I like to tell the kids, Surf Rider is here to help you from now until you get your PhD. Because let's tackle this problem together. So.
Love that.
Me too. Thank you, both of you, all of you, for stepping up to the plate and taking on this huge responsibility we have for taking care of our beautiful island and ocean.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for tackling our number one problem on this island. It's so important. I try to share the stories with the tourists who come here when they come to our cleanups and ask maybe about a houseless encampment or such, and try to explain the situation. Yeah.
And we thank KKCR for being an amazing venue to get our message out, and this new collaboration is awesome, and KKCR has been really great to help us spread the word and inform our folks. Yes, yes.
And Hōʻike.
And Hōʻike.
And Hōʻike.
8 minutes of radio time left. I know that at the end of the show, you usually like to ask your guests a specific question.
We asked about what would you like to say. They've already done it, though. Is what message we like to end with, because many times our show has to do with things, problems, issues, and things.
Like climate crisis.
Difficult. Yeah. I don't think the world is flat, by the way, based on what I'm hearing here.
Yeah.
See what we learned, Jimmy?
These are the things on community media.
Right. But we like to end with a message of hope. But so much of what you are sharing, I'm feeling very hopeful. More hopeful now.
One piece of hope I can show you guys.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Let's get some hope.
Barbara's not here because this is nice and clean and ready to go, and we could just actually turn it into something really cool. Like
that was that?
It actually is. It's this with a bunch of like ocean plastic and stuff like that. So if we're building sustainable houses, flooring, it could be. You guys have ideas? Let us know.
Could be a countertop.
Could be a countertop.
Can light go through that?
Light can, actually. So this one turns a different color with the light. I can see it on this side. I don't know what you guys can.
And it comes in this pre-cut size panel?
Yep, like a 3x3
36
and about a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch.
So is that extruded or is that heated and pressed?
Literally waffle pressed into the sheet press. And then we've got these kind of like 1x1s and 2x4s, so we can do those.
For the folks on the radio who can't see.
Yeah, hold up the blue one, because it's
blue one,
really, really pretty.
So this is all the like ocean plastic that would have gone to the landfill.
And so you would say that's a 36 by 36?
Yep.
Okay. 3x3, and what is that, a 1/4 inch? A little bit.
We can make them 1/2 inch.
So you can choose the thickness of it.
Yep.
What's the thinnest?
We can probably do it a little bit thinner, but then it gets flimsy because it's all these tiny bits of.
But if you had light, I mean, it could be kind of letting.
It could let more light
go through.
Yeah, the nets when we press those is easier.
And what gives it that color? Because this is all got blues with some little red hues in there.
Well, you want to pull that bucket out, and you can kind of show what it looked like before.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So all of these
like
items. So like a blue rope in there.
Blue rope. You got
little green.
Little green. We have to shred this stuff down to be able to press it. So that's why we love the
taco sauce in there for the orange.
There's some taco sauce.
Sauce.
So all of that same stuff, exactly. We could
And this has been washed, so the kids can touch it.
It looks beautiful. I'm like, oh, that's ready to go.
This has been cleaned in my bathtub with disinfected. Yeah.
Make it nice and
it's
presentable.
Nice marine debris right there. Yeah. She's got a nice marine debris.
A1 marine debris.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Barbara, what else do you have in regards to some of the signs or things that you share? This would be at a booth at an event, maybe?
This would be at a booth. This is how much we removed. How much we removed, and this is our famous picture. 8 people removed that in one
one afternoon on the Hollaback Road.
Just wrestled that thing uphill.
And, ingestion and entanglement. And here's the world with the 5 gyres and what marine debris is. And then there's our marine debris hotline that both Tim and I are part of that the community can call.
So what is that? What do they call about?
833 for the nets.
That is our statewide hotline. Our Surf Rider hotline has been for almost 19 years, and that is 808-635-2593, but either of them will reach us. And that's just a little bit about our Surf Rider Marine Debris Removal Program and why we do what we do, because tourists aren't going to want to come here if this is what our beaches look like. And if we weren't, if Tim's group and Surf Rider weren't out collecting, that's what they'd look like. And thank you to the community. There's many people. It's not just Surf Rider. There's many people doing solo beach cleanup every day at Kealia Beach at sunrise.
Glenn Head, our secretary on our board, he every single day goes out and does his own
and picks up a bag of trash
every day. Right.
That's okay. Can practice.
And if
daily
everyone
practice.
would take a little paper bag and pick up.
We all have these reusable bags. We all have lots of Safeway bags in our houses, those are great ones.
And the kids are chipping in on that. I do have one other fun event since you showed your fun stuff.
Please share.
It's also on November 1st at 10:30 till 12:30.
That's Saturday. That's this Saturday coming up.
Saturday coming up. We have our famous ghost net wreath making workshop. So
ghost net wreath making
workshop. So we're going to make wreaths out of the nets, and they're really cool.
Wreath, not reef. Okay, I was thinking reef making.
Holiday reef.
Reef. Reef. Sorry, I didn't pronounce that right.
Reef. Okay.
But our resident artist, Monica Mira, it will be at Kauai Society of Artists, our good partners. We do have a annual art show there in June. But that's the day. You can go to our website, which is kauai.surfrider.org/events to sign up for that. Or you can just reach out to us on that phone number I just rattled off.
So make your debris wreath and then have lunch and then skip over to go watch the movie.
Yeah, there's always something fun to do. Yeah,
that's
always something fun to do. Lei, anything else you'd like to share about permanently affordable living Hawaii?
I don't think so. I think that's it. Wish me luck in the new role. It's a kind of a big job.
Larry can do it.
Big shoes, but I'll be in connection with him, and he's moving off island. He's going back to be with his family, but it's a very exciting stage, and I'll just carry the baton and move forward.
Sounds like you got a really great team over there too.
The team is amazing. Huge shout out to all of our various departments. Everybody is functioning on all cylinders, and it's awesome. It really is. So.
I always look forward to our July 5th cleanup.
Yes.
Cal and Kumu Camp. It's always a really great time.
Yeah.
Well, I wish I could join you guys this weekend. We're going to be at the Hawaii Coral Restoration Symposium going on Oahu at UH. It's all the top coral restoration practitioners and researchers throughout the state gathering, and we're the first presentation of the 2-day symposium, and on the Wednesday, the 28th. So, we'll be over there, and I will be at the Marine Debris Research Center at HPU, so that's funny, they'll be showing the film over here, but it sounds like awesome Saturday. Lots of things to do with the reef making workshop and, getting into the film and stuff like that. So,
and
you guys have a blast over there. We'll do what we can and represent Kauai at the symposium for sure.
Awesome. And it's funny when I hear, there's nothing to do on Kauai. Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, no,
Okay.
Community is active.
Plenty. More than plenty. Yeah.
Well, Lei, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
We'll be back here in a month on the 24th of November, a pre-Thanksgiving show. We'll have to think about who we're going to have, where are we going to have it. Rodwin, thanks so much for engineering our sound. Max Richardson from Hōʻike making us look good and sound even better. Prita in the background. Shmita, thank you so much. And I think we're going to end our program pretty soon, like 1, 2, 3, now.
Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Malama pono.